talk about some motivation, some meditation, some inspiration. If it's not one of the three, I don't want it. Let's start getting down with that mentality. Let's get down with those challenges. Let's get into the ability to utilize our mentality to overcome the things that we go through on a daily basis. Ask yourself, what is it that you're challenged with today? What are the things that you're working through? What are the places that you're looking to go? A lot of us are putting ourselves in a way where we put what's in front of us as more important than ourselves. So I want to start talking a little bit about that today. I want to start talking about how you can start putting yourself first, and how when you do put yourself first, amazing things start happening. So one of those ways that I've found for myself, and and I'm not a diet expert, is to actually prepare what I start my day off with. So if you give yourself the ability to prepare before you start your day, you have the ability for your day to start to become the way that you're looking for it to become. The mentality inside of you to start radiating light outwards, the focus inside of you to start becoming a part of you. And a lot of us neglect that part of ourselves. We forget that the challenges that we go through are not greater than ourselves, that we are in fact greater than our challenges. And exactly what does that mean? It means that if you prepare your bed before you go to you start your day, then you have a warm bed to lay down in. And this doesn't just go to the person who sleeps in a nice place. This goes to the person who might not have everything in place, who might be sleeping in their van, or they might not have a place today. I look back at about a year ago. I look back at a time when I was sleeping in my van, when I was facing off against challenges that we all face off against, and I still got up every day. I went to work. I put myself in a mentality where I was utilizing the challenges that I was having. I was utilizing the mentality. I was utilizing the ability to be where I wanted to be, and it started to work on the ability to grind inside of oneself. It worked on the ability to focus past the challenges, to put one in such a place that the ability inside started to become. Each of us have the ability to build our own practice. We have the ability to build ourselves up. We have the ability to focus to that point. And the challenges that we face off against, they ask us that kind of question. They ask you in the morning, is this what you want to do, And like, for instance, today was a reminder that I need to wake up earlier. I need to wake up in such a way that I give myself the extra hours, because I want to start earlier in the day. And so how do you face off against those kind of challenges? How do you go through 14, 16 hours in a day and realize that you got to get up earlier, that you can truly take on those kinds of challenges unless you start to study it, unless you start to write it down, unless you start to put it into a place where you start to become a master of your challenges. And so you see a lot of us that are facing off against challenges are in such a way in which, if we didn't have those challenges, then we wouldn't enjoy them. We wouldn't enjoy the things that we go through. And you see, I find that as a joy. I find that as a part of being a human being, is that we have challenges. We have things that start to ask us the questions, that start to ask us, is this going to happen? Am I going to test myself to the point where I give myself the ability to grow? Am I going to give myself the ability to face off against those kind of challenges? Am I going to sit inside of myself to the point where what I'm going through is not greater than who I am? And so this is where we start, and it's inside of ourselves, by putting ourselves in check and putting ourselves in a place in which we give ourselves the ability to manifest what we want. See, if you want to put your mentality in such a place that you start to achieve it, if you want to start to put your mind in such a place that you start to become it, if you want to focus to the point where you're utilizing your challenges, then it's going to take you. It's going to take your ability to sit down with yourself. It's going to take your ability to continue when other people are going to quit. It's going to take your ability to take that extra hour in your day to make time for yourself. And that's what I'm reminded of today. I'm reminded that that's what it takes. It takes that time for you to make sure that you have that kind of time for yourself. It's not about somebody else that's going to pick you up. It's not somebody else who's going to go to the position when they're getting their butt kicked. It's going to be you when you're getting your butt kicked. It's going to be you that's going to pick yourself up. It's you that's going to put the time in. It's you that's going to grind. It's going to be you that's going to focus to the mentality where you're utilizing what you have inside of yourself. And a lot of us forget that. We forget that just giving ourselves a little bit of time, preparing our stuff before we start our day, giving ourselves the ability to put our mentality in such a place where we're utilizing what we have inside. You see, I remember sleeping in my van. I remember preparing my shakes. I remember having to go to McDonald's. I remember waking up at 4 o'clock in the morning and going and sitting inside of a sauna to get that mentality that today I'm waking up 4 hours later. Are you putting yourself in that kind of check? Are you putting yourself in that kind of place where you remember that even when you were uncomfortable, you were growing? That even to the time of now, that you are still growing, that your mentality has the ability to grow, that who you are inside is greater than your challenges. See, a lot of people, they forget that. They ask, how could I spend 5 hours inside of a sauna without walking out? It was because what was going on inside was greater than what was going on the outside. It was because what we focus on, we get. And you get to keep your mentality. You get to keep what you put your focus into. You get to keep your ability to put yourself in that kind of a place, those kind of challenges, those kind of preparations. You know, if you are prepared ahead of time, if you're, I remember when I was selling cars, when I was working for Chrysler, it was the preparing ahead of time that got the sale the next day. It was the preparing ahead of time that got the ability for the challenges to become overcome. And so if we put ourselves in that place where we prepare ahead of time, if we focus to that page where we start to write this stuff down so that our minds can be at a higher level, and so that way positivity can start coming out of the situation, then it might just start coming out of the situation in your life. Those challenges that you face off against, they might just start to become a part of who you are. Your focus might go through them. The ability inside of yourself gives you the mentality to focus past your challenges. And each of us has challenges. I ask myself, how are my challenges different than anybody else's? Each of us have challenges. It's up to us to embrace them. It's up to us to find a way to work with them. And so how do we start to focus through them? How do we put ourselves on a page where we start to give ourselves that kind of time? And a lot of us stop ourselves from having that ability. We stop ourselves from that level of mentality. We stop ourselves from that level of focus because we're not willing to sit down with ourselves. Why are you not willing to sit down with you? Ask yourself that type of question. Ask yourself, how do you get through your challenges? What do you use? And how do you get rid of the vices that hold you back? How do you get rid of the things that might stop you? How do you get to the page where what's going on inside is greater than your challenges, where what's going on inside gives you the ability to become stronger than your challenges? See, focus is a mentality. Focus is the ability for you to ask yourself these questions. Is what I'm doing today, is it motivation? Is it meditation? Is it inspiration? If it's not one of the three, I don't want it. See, the reason why I don't want it is because I realize that the questions that we ask ourselves on a daily basis, the things that we truly go through daily, the things that ask us, how can we become it? How can we face off against it? Is you versus you. It's not you versus somebody else. It's not going to wake you up in the morning before other people get up. It's not going to put you in a place where you focus past it. It's not going to get you to work that extra hour, to just put in that little bit of extra time so that you have what it takes inside of you. It's going to be inside of yourself. It's going to be inside of your own challenges. It's going to be inside of your own mentality. And see, your breath is important. Your being is important. Your challenges are important because they're you. And you are a beautiful being on the face of the planet. You have a purpose. You have challenges and they haven't come to stop you. They've come to help you to grow. They've come to help you to be who you are on the inside. They've come to ask you the questions. Do you have what it takes? And you see, if we're not sitting down with ourselves, if we're not sitting down and we're not studying ourselves, if we're not giving ourselves the time to have just a little bit of time for yourself each day, just to have a little bit of time to give yourself this kind of place to hear this kind of message, to get to the place where you're utilizing what you have inside, where you're using your challenges to your advantage, where you're using your level of focus, where you're using your level of being inside of you, then you ain't going to have it. You ain't going to have a life if you don't want it for yourself. Other people are going to be in charge of you. Other people are going to be telling you what to do. Other people are going to be putting in front their dreams, their goals in front of you. It's until you wake up to that point inside of yourself where it isn't about somebody else, where you don't need a place, where you don't need a vessel. You are the vessel. You see, when I was pushing past that point where other people were walking out of the sauna, when I was pushing past that point where other people were giving up, when I was pushing past that point, it wasn't because of them. It wasn't when it wasn't even for them. It was for yourself. It was for the ability for you to wake up and believe in you. It was for the ability for you to have patience with yourself. It was for the ability for you to see yourself. And you see, you can do that too. You can go through those challenges. You can break those impossible barriers. You can do the things, before I pressed 5 hours in the sauna without exiting, they said that even pressing past an hour was impossible. When people were bringing in, one shake after another, and I was pushing past barriers, and they knew that what was going on inside was greater than the outside. You see, that's what it's about. It's about you. It's about your challenges. This story is for you to lift yourself. This story is for you to ask yourself the question, is what on the outside greater than what you are on the inside? And I asked myself that question every day. I remember when I was getting my butt kicked, and you are going to see people that try to compare themselves to you. I remember a guy coming in there, he weighed more than 350 pounds, pure muscle. And he looked at me and he said, "You're full of it." I looked right at him in the face. I said, "Any day, any time you come in here, we sit inside of this sauna, and I guarantee you're going to walk out of this sauna before me. Because inside of myself, inside of who I am, I know that this mentality, this level of focus, this grind, this ability inside is so great that the reflection radiates outwards. That ability inside, I was willing to die inside of that sauna. I was willing to push the barriers, the limitations to what they call it, to the ability to want to push past it, to believe in yourself to the point where you can achieve things when other people call them impossible. And that's what happened 3 hours, 4 hours, 5 hours later, and I was still inside the sauna, and I was still alive. But you got to believe in yourself at that point where you achieve that within you, where you achieve a level inside of yourself where your level of focus goes beyond where other people can, where your level of focus goes to the point where your mentality has an ability, where your focus has a place, where your focus goes beyond your challenges. What's going on inside of you is greater than what goes on around you. And that only happens when you start to have patience with yourself and when you start to study yourself. So if you are getting your butt kicked in your professional aspect, look within you. Look at what you're writing down. Look at what you're putting in front of yourself. Look at your rituals. Look at how you're pushing yourself. Are you pushing yourself to be the person that you are inside, or are you comparing yourself to somebody else? As long as you compare yourself to somebody else, you can never be the best you. And that's what I realized, that the fight wasn't versus somebody else. It was versus what was going on inside. And what is going on inside is what matters the most. what you believe about yourself, what your mentality is, what your ability inside of you is. And a lot of people get to the place where they're trying to compare it to somebody else, and it just doesn't work that way because they don't breathe your breath. They haven't lived your life. They haven't gone through your challenges. They haven't had their place for you to be who you are on the inside. And so it's not going to be against them. It's not going to be for them. It's going to be for you. It's going to be when you believe in yourself. It's going to be when you sit down with you. It's when you start to listen to motivation, which is a level of focus. And focus is a foundation to you being yourself. Focus is a foundation to gaining self-honesty. Focus is a foundation to see the positive things in your life. Focus is a foundation for you to dominate inside of your being. It's the ability for you to bypass your challenges. It's the ability for you to understand your energy. It's the ability for you to utilize your challenges. And what I'm talking about is the challenges that nobody else can face off against for you. And you see, that is a place inside. That is why I pressed 5 hours in the sauna. It wasn't because of somebody else. It wasn't a battle versus anybody else. When is it you versus yourself? When do you go within you? When are the challenges that you face off against for yourself? When are you self-honest? When do you focus to the point where you allow the things that are not meant for you to move out of the way? And that is how it works, my friends. It works inside of you. It works with your level of honesty. The hardest trait on the face of the planet to work with is self-honesty. The reason why is because when you start speaking your mind, people challenge your ability. When you start speaking your mentality, people challenge your ability. When you start being who you are on the inside, they challenge your ability for you to be who you are. And it's up to be who you are. It's up to you to go within yourself. It's up to you to focus to that point where you utilize those kinds of challenges. And as I'm sitting here, as I'm reminding myself that I got to get myself up earlier, as I'm reminding myself that I got to get into the place where I'm putting it into a ritual, where I'm putting this as a priority on a daily basis, those followers give me a reminder. Those people that tell me, they get in the car with me because I've been driving for nearly 5 years. They give me a reminder of a reason why building this kind of practice has a purpose. Because when I found it for myself, I wanted to help other people to achieve it for themselves. And so remember, sometimes we have to put ourselves in check. Sometimes we have to put ourselves in a place where we start to get down with our own challenges. When it's not when you're comparing yourself to somebody else. It's not for somebody else. It's for you versus you. It's when you believe in yourself. It's when you're willing to face off against your challenges. At that level, the success starts to come out of you. It's just a result in your level of focus. And as you see, when you're focused, you are not surprised in the results. You are not surprised when other people become motivated by your challenges. You're not surprised when you face off against things. And when you face off against them with a level of self-honesty, when you face off against them with a level of mentality, when you face off against them, and I see those people, I see those teams needing my help, I see them getting to the place where their team is not getting the top in their sales. They're not getting the top in their ability. And they're willing to do anything to achieve that. Your team might be getting its butt kicked. You're willing to do anything. Hear this message. Play this message for your team. Get inside of yourselves. Write everything down. Write your challenges down so that you can overcome them. Walk around your cars. Walk around your products. Get to know yourself. Get to believe in your ability. Get to believe in who you are. Stop challenging other people. Challenge yourself to overcome your challenges. When I sold against the Roku, when I was working at Cox Communications, I was getting first and second place, and I literally had to have sales stolen from me by someone in Spanish because they couldn't literally keep up with me, okay? I was in first place, but they stole the sales from me because the mentality is what matters, my friends. I saw this happen over and over again. I was working 50, 60 hours a week for Chrysler and driving 35 to 40 hours a week. And I'm telling you, the only thing that held me together is belief in oneself. The ability to challenge one being, to push one's being to the point where it doesn't matter what somebody else has. It doesn't matter their challenges. You believe in your ability. You wake up every day with the ability inside of yourself to push yourself past your own challenges. You got to audit yourself. You got to put yourself in a place where you're utilizing your ability to be who you are. You see, a lot of people go and start a position. They start a profession. They start a craft. They don't want to truly master the craft because they're not willing to write it down on day 1. And on day 5, they're still not writing it down. Focus to the point where your pen, your paper, your what your mentality is a part of your whole entire being, where people come and search you out for who you are. They come and search you out for your level of mentality. And don't be surprised in the results, because what you focus into, you get to keep. What you focus into, you get to see. And so when you are surprised in the results, it means you didn't put in the time. It means you didn't put in the effort. It means that you didn't put in the mentality. You see, I've been at videos for over a year. You see, I was putting out videos when I was sleeping in my van. You see, I was putting out videos when I was meditating, when I was breaking barriers, when I was putting myself in a place where the ability inside of oneself has the ability to overcome one's challenges. You see, I manifested these things in my life. I manifested the ability to break down to that point. I gained it. I wasn't surprised in the results. It wasn't a surprise in the ability. It was the ability to dominate one being to that point, to get to the place where focus becomes a reflection. My friends, look inside of yourself and hear what I'm saying. When you focus, you get to keep it. If you put yourself in a place where you focus into positivity, if you put yourself in a place where you focus to the point where you start to build a foundation, then when other people start to seek you out, they see you as a motivation. Motivation isn't just an I can't. Motivation isn't just a one day. Motivation is today waking up telling myself, I woke up at 7:30 in the morning, 6 o'clock in the morning, and by the time I was up and I was in the car, it was 7:30, and it was already too late, my friends. I got to be up at 5 o'clock in the morning. I got to be grinding earlier. I got to make sure that I'm on the road by 7:30. There's no excuse for myself why I should be up driving at 7:30. That's already too late in my mentality. And that's got to take a level of self-honesty, my friends. Prepare your day before you start. Put yourself in a place where you're utilizing it, where you're not comparing yourself against him or her. And that's interesting that we hear that quote, because you know what? That's a Rocky Balboa quote, and I've been reading that in the mind for a very long time. You can hear my videos, you can hear my mentality, you can hear this isn't just a single day thing. You can go back, search out my videos, you can go search out my website, you can go search out my mentality. You can start to get to that ability to focus through it. Motivation, meditation, inspiration is a part of my total being. And what I ask myself every day, and that's the thing that kept me alive. It's the thing that kept me going. It was the thing that kept me focusing through my challenges. It's the thing that gave me the ability to continue to drive. It's the thing that gave me the ability to focus through these things and to get to the place where what's going on inside is greater than the things that are going on the outside. And it's a reminder to get up earlier. It's a reminder to put yourself first. It's a reminder to put yourself in the place where your challenges don't have the ability to stop you. You see, when you focus through them, you get to keep it. What you focus through, you get to keep. What you put yourself in the place, you get to keep. When you put yourself through challenges, you get to keep your challenges. And so embrace them. Embrace the things that you go through. Embrace the person that you are inside. Embrace the mentality that you have. And so how do you focus to that point? How do you give yourself that place? How do you put yourself in an ability to have permission to be who you are? Do you sit down with yourself? What do you listen to? What do you listen to? What type of place do you put your mentality? What type of things do you go through on a daily basis that ask you the questions? Ask you if you have the ability inside of yourself, if you have the ability to focus to that point, if you have the ability to get down with who you are on the inside. And you see, each day that you do that for yourself, that you put down in front of who you are, each day that you give yourself that kind of permission to go through those kind of challenges, to get to that place where the things don't have the ability to be greater than you are on the outside, then the universe has the ability to yield. Then the universe has the ability to go within. Then the universe has the ability to face off against that part of you. And inside of you, you have that ability. Inside of you, you have those kinds of challenges. Inside of you, you have that kind of mentality. Inside of you, you have that level of focus. Inside of you, you have yourself. And so are you focused to that point? Are you giving yourself that kind of place? Are you asking yourself the type of question that I ask myself every day? Is what I'm doing today, is it creating a reflection of motivation? Is what I'm doing today, is it giving me permission to be who I am? Is it giving me permission to go through the challenges that I go through? Is it giving me the ability to be nothing less and nothing more than myself? And that's all you can be. And it's not selfish for you to be you. It's not selfish for you to become a positive person. It's not selfish for you to go through your challenges. It's not selfish for you to find that kind of mentality. It's not selfish for you to find that kind of ability inside of who you are. And so, are you focused to that point? Are you giving yourself that kind of permission? Are you getting down to that kind of page inside of who you are where your mentality has permission for you to be who you are? See, each of us gets to keep that. Each of us gets to keep what we put our time into. Each of us gets to keep our ability to focus past our challenges. We get to keep what we put out in this world. We get to get the mentality to become a reflection. And so, if you're working towards someone else's dreams, don't be surprised if they get their dreams and you don't. If you put yourself in a place where your mentality has permission for you to be you, if you put yourself in a place where your ability inside of yourself has that ability to be you, then you got to give yourself the time for you to grow. You got to give yourself the time for you to be who you are on the inside. You got to give yourself the ability for you to focus past your challenges. And so, what are your challenges? What are the things that hold you back? What are the things that, when you work on these things inside of yourself, when your self-honesty starts to happen, when your self-ability starts to happen, what is it that brings you closer to you? What is it that brings you closer to being honest with yourself? And so, I noticed that when I wrote stuff down, when I put things on paper in front of myself, I had the ability to work through them. When I put them in